Hello everyone, and welcome back to another cartography lecture video. And in this lecture video, I want to continue our discussion on data presentation and statistics by talking about the way that we can use statistics to describe data, or what we often call descriptive statistics. And in specific, we're going to talk about this idea of central tendency and dispersion. So again, we're going to be talking about descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics. And as the name implies, right, descriptive means to describe, and statistics means numbers that explain a data set. And so I want to sort of step back for a second, and I want to think, when you have a data set, what are some things that you might want to know? Well, one thing that we might want to know would be what value best represents the center of the data set. Right, what value best represents the center of the data set? Or actually, to be more specific, variable. Right, because we're talking about one column in that tabular view. Right, so what value best represents the center of the data set? And I'm going to underline center here. And then another thing that we might be interested in trying to figure out is how are the observations dispersed, right? Dispersed around that central value. Right, and I'm going to underline dispersed here. Right, and so as we've mentioned before, right, center and dispersed, this is where the two types of descriptive statistics that we're going to talk about come from. Right, values that best represent the center of a data set, these are called measures of central tendency. Right, measures of central tendency. And statistics that measure how observations are dispersed around that measure of central tendency, right, these are called measures of dispersion. Right, measures of dispersion. And so what I want to do in this video and in the next subsequent videos that we're talking about descriptive statistics is I want to talk about what different statistics we have. And again, this is not going to be exhaustive because there are so many different ways that we could measure these things, but I'm going to cover the most commonly used ones. I want to describe what each measurement sort of means. I want to cover the equation, or how we actually figure out what the value is. And then I want to go through an example. So I want to wrap up this video by just listing the measures that we're going to talk about. So for central tendency, we're going to talk about three measures. We're going to talk about mean, we're going to talk about median, and we're going to talk about mode. These are the three most common measures of central tendency. For measures of dispersion, I want to talk about deviation, variance, interquartile range, interquartile range, and standard deviation. This should say deviation from the mean, sorry, deviation from the mean. And deviation from the mean, variance, and standard deviation are all actually related to each other. So we're going to sort of build a hierarchy so that hopefully by the time we get to standard deviation, which is the most complicated equation, you'll understand the parts well enough to have a really solid understanding of what we're actually calculating. So hopefully this all made sense. Again, we're going to go through each of these different measures in detail. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you.